I now give the floor to His Excellency Bakary Yaou Sangaré, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation, and Nigeriens abroad of the Niger.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Monsieur le Président.
Distinguished President, distinguished heads of state and government, distinguished heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen.
Je voudrais tout d'abord
At the outset, I would like to warmly congratulate Mr. Philemon Yang on his election as President of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly. I also would like to express to his predecessor, Mr. Dennis Francis of Trinidad and Tobago, my sincere thanks for his outstanding work during his mandate, despite the turbulent global context. Unfortunately, I will not go any further in my congratulations, and you'll understand why. Ladies and gentlemen, exactly 1 year ago, in this same hall, from this very same podium, my country, Niger, was unjustly and unjustifiably deprived of its right to speak. That wasn't the worst of it. This decision was debated at the time, but the worst was that at the same time, representatives from other countries in the same situation as we were authorized to speak. And they were even received with honors by the Secretary General of the United Nations. You can easily understand and agree with me that we're looking at double standards. Double standards that tarnish the credibility of our common organization. My country accepted that decision with dignity, but we did feel left behind. That is why my remarks today will focus on those left behind and on human dignity. Human dignity, ladies and gentlemen, is perfectly in keeping with the ideals behind our transformation in Niger. Those left behind, on the other hand, result from conflict, violence in many forms, inequality, and the lack of solidarity, as well as the marginalization of a large portion of the population of our planet, people who aspire for a better world. Before continuing, I would like to welcome into this session the presence of Palestine, which has been left behind. We hope that its presence, so richly deserved among us, will represent a decisive step toward the emergence of a free, independent, sovereign Palestinian state living in peace with its neighbors within the borders of 1967. Niger reaffirms its support to the Palestinian cause. We believe only a two-state solution can end the cycle of violence and can guarantee peace and security in the region. My country also laments the situation in Lebanon and calls for an immediate cessation of hostilities. Ladies and gentlemen, every year we engage in the ritual of lamenting the situation of poor countries and pleading for a more equitable world. But we're forced to observe that we are holding too many meetings and taking too little action. We are stagnating. Poor countries see what is happening. While they founder, the rich are lining their pockets with our resources, continuing to support corrupt and subservient regimes that rig elections and plunge their people into total suffering. Meanwhile, the international community stands aside in silent complicity, which once again demonstrates their double standards. Ladies and gentlemen, from this podium, I call upon the exploited peoples left behind, to tell them that it is not the affluent countries that will be finding solutions for us. I affirm that these solutions are within us. They consist in refusing to demean ourselves by begging for aid. They consist in building worthy partnerships in which our natural resources are paid for at the price that they deserve and benefits invested for a population. It is in this spirit that my country is using its own funds to address the damages and the humanitarian crisis caused by unprecedented flooding that occurred this year. We don't need any lessons about democracy. What's important is the interests, the choices, and the aspirations of our brave peoples. As stated by the President of the National Council for the Salvation of the Homeland and Head of State, His Excellency Brigadier General Abdurrahman Tiani, no state and no interstate organization shall dictate to my country what conduct to adopt, let alone its agenda in terms of strategic or diplomatic partnerships. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the Sahel region, for more than a decade now, has been suffering a severe security crisis that jeopardizes the very existence of its states and which represents an ignominious attack on international peace and security. To present a united front against the common challenges that we are facing, especially security challenges, the three states led by their excellencies, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta, President of the Transition, Head of State of Mali, and Brigadier General Abdurrahman Tiani, President of the National Council for the Salvation of the Homeland, Head of State of Niger. Signed on September 16, 2023, the Liptako-Gourma Charter, thus establishing the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES. Today, we can see the strong support of the population as well as the military successes won on the ground by the AES defense and security forces in their battle against terrorism and crime. Here, I would like to commend the creation of the unified force of the AES and the excellent coordination the units have demonstrated. I pay a sincere tribute to all of these civilian and military victims of the violence in the Sahel. Ladies and gentlemen, at the historic summit of the heads of state of the AES held in Niamey on July 6, 2024, the alliance became a confederation based on three pillars, namely defense and security, diplomacy, and development. This new strategic framework for integration has the ultimate goal of becoming a federation. It boasts a wealth of natural resources to attain its goals. This wealth has caught the covetous eye of certain Western powers, which are financing and arming terrorist groups in order to destabilize our countries. Niger reaffirms its strong condemnation of these hostile acts and rejects all forms of support for terrorism, especially the active and public support of Ukraine for the terrorist coalition that perpetrated a cowardly attack on Tinzawaten in Mali. Here I also would like to condemn the subversive actions and new strategy of recolonization espoused and pursued by France, which trains, finances, arms, and provides intelligence to the terrorist groups of the Sahel. It provides food and lodging to its local lackeys, some of which occupy the diplomatic premises of Niger in Paris in flagrant violation of the Vienna Convention of 1961 on diplomatic relations. So far from halting the momentum underway in the Sahel, these attempts at destabilization are only strengthening our country's resolve to forge ahead as we pursue our goals. In spite of all these adversities, the AES caravan goes on. Mr. President, the Confederation of Sahel States is now, as much as some might be displeased by it, a new geopolitical deal which will fully play its role in the international arena while respecting the sovereignty and the freedom of choice of its partners, as stated by His Excellency Colonel Assimi Goïta, President of the Confederation of the AES, on the first anniversary of the alliance. Quote, "In our spirit of independence and regained sovereignty, we remain open to cooperation with brotherly and friendly peoples based on fraternity and mutual respect." Ladies and gentlemen, on the national level, the inclusive vision of the President of the CNSP and Head of State, Brigadier General Abdurrahman Tiani, is based on 4 strategic pillars as follows: bolstering security and social cohesion, promoting good governance, developing production bases, and accelerating social reforms. These pillars aim to ensure the security, political, and socioeconomic sovereignty of our countries. They inform all of the actions of the state and its partners to pave the way for a structural transformation of the Nigerian economy and to improve the population's well-being. To guide this transformation, especially in the mining and oil sectors, my country is willing to sign partnership agreements with foreign investors based on the principle of win-win cooperation and while respecting the dignity of our peoples, which have until now been left behind. The goal is to make the Sahel a region of peace and prosperity, as affirmed by President Tiani. In closing, I would like to thank our brotherly countries, our friends, Burkina Faso, Mali, Togo, Morocco, Turkey, Russia, China, Iran, and all others who have supported Niger as it transforms itself. I would like to conclude by asking the diaspora of our countries, wherever they may be, to continue to pray for God to protect the AES, to protect our peoples and our governments. Long live solidarity between peoples. Long live the AES Confederation. Thank you.
I thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Cooperation, and Nigeriens abroad of the Niger,